You can tell a lot about a workplace from the silence that follows one man's voice. In ours, that man was Evan. Every office has someone difficult, the loud one, the lazy one, the gossip. But Evan? He was in a class of his own. He wasn't just rude. He was venom disguised as confidence. He'd stroll through the department calling every woman girl, like they were unpaid interns there to serve him. Hey girl, grab me a coffee. Girl, print this for me. And if anyone dared tell him no, he'd explode, red-faced, childish, screaming profanities until everyone went quiet. Management knew. They always know. But corporate apathy runs deeper than you'd think. They just waited for the problem to solve itself. So day after day, women tiptoed around him, and the rest of us swallowed our anger. I wasn't even one of his direct targets, I'm a guy. But that made watching his behavior worse. When you see someone humiliate others and no one steps in, the guilt sticks to you. I told my coworkers, if he ever crosses the line, tell me. I'm not letting that creep get away with it. I didn't know yet that Evan's arrogance wasn't confined to the office. Outside those walls, he was just as entitled, and soon, that arrogance was going to put him alone in a dark parking lot, begging for a ride I'd never give. He had this habit of manipulating people into favors. He'd brag about having connections, but everyone knew the truth. Evan didn't even have a car. He'd been fired from his last job, wrecked his vehicle in some incident no one quite understood, and ever since then, he'd been mooching rides from whoever he could guilt into helping. Some said he'd wait by the exit doors after closing, cornering people in the hallway. Hey, you're headed my way, right? Come on, don't be rude. And if they said no, the insults followed. He'd make sure the next day at work felt like a punishment. It was manipulation wrapped in fake charm. So I avoided him. Clock in. Work. Clock out. Don't engage. Until one night I couldn't. It was close to midnight. Our store was empty except for 3 people, the manager, Evan, and me. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The kind of hum that makes you notice how quiet everything else is. We closed the registers, shut down the lights, locked the doors. I could already feel the exhaustion sinking into my bones. Then Evan's voice broke the silence. Hey, you heading home? Yeah, I muttered, slinging my bag over my shoulder. Perfect, he said, smirking. You can give me a ride. I stopped. No, I can't. He laughed like I'd told a joke. Come on, man, it's on your way. You're not really gonna leave me out here, are you? I didn't answer. I just kept walking. But he kept talking. Each sentence a little louder, a little angrier. By the time I reached the parking lot, I could feel his footsteps behind me. That echo, heavy, deliberate. That's when I realized this wasn't just a request anymore. It was a demand. And that was the moment his behavior stopped being workplace arrogance and started becoming something darker. The parking lot behind the store always felt wrong at night, just a slab of cracked asphalt lit by one flickering lamp and the red glow of the exit sign over the back door. When you walked out, the world shrank to the sound of your own shoes. That night, the air felt heavier. Evan followed me out, still talking. Man, come on, don't be a jerk. You're seriously gonna make me walk home? I didn't answer. My keys bit into my palm. I could see my car across the lot, 10 seconds away, maybe less. But every step he took seemed louder than mine. He kept closing the distance. You owe me, dude. I covered for you last week. He hadn't. He never helped anyone. I stopped halfway to my car, turned, and said flatly, I said no. He smiled the way people do when they think they're untouchable. You can't say no to me, he said. You're not leaving me here. That's when I realized something. It wasn't about the ride. It was about control. He wanted to make me do what he wanted, just like he made the women at work fetch and tolerate and smile. I walked faster. My heart was drumming so hard it made my throat hurt. When I reached the driver's door, I hit the unlock button, slid in, and slammed the lock down again. He was already there. Fists on the window. Bam. 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 Open the door! Bam. I'm not kidding, open it! His face was twisted with rage, veins standing out on his neck under the yellow light. For a second, I saw what the women at work must have seen every day, someone who thought anger was power. He yanked at the handle. The locks held. I turned the key, praying the engine wouldn't stall. It roared to life. I threw the gear into reverse, and the sudden movement made him stumble backward. He shouted something I couldn't hear over the tires squealing. I didn't wait. I didn't look back. I backed out, shifted into drive, and blew out of that lot like my life depended on it. Maybe it did. When the store disappeared in the rearview mirror, my hands started shaking so badly I had to pull over for a moment. The dashboard lights turned everything inside the car red. My pulse was still hammering. I thought of what could have happened if I'd hesitated, if he'd gotten the door open, if I'd been too polite, too slow, too trusting. Never again. I drove home in silence, the road a black ribbon stretching through empty farmland. Every few minutes I checked my mirrors, half expecting headlights to appear behind me. None did. The next morning I told my manager what had happened. She looked horrified, then sighed, the kind of sigh that says, "We've known he's a problem for too long." She said she'd handle it. They never did. But something changed after that night. Evan didn't speak to me. Didn't come near me. Maybe he realized I wasn't one of the people he could intimidate. He still barked orders at the women, still strutted around like he owned the place. But there was a new tension in the air, like everyone was just waiting for the day he finally went too far. And he would. It was only a matter of time. The morning after that night, everything at work looked the same, the dull beige walls, the constant hum of fluorescent lights, the cheap coffee that tasted like burnt hope. But I wasn't the same. That parking lot changed something in me. Once you've seen someone's face twisted with anger inches from your window, you stop pretending people like that can be reasoned with. When I walked in, Evan was already there. He stood by the break room door, laughing with another coworker, that fake, booming laugh he used whenever he wanted attention. The second he saw me, the sound died in his throat. He didn't say a word. He just stared. That stare, it wasn't guilt. It was embarrassment. He'd lost control once, and he knew it. And for guys like him, control is everything. The following days were quiet. Too quiet. He stopped shouting across the office. Stopped barking orders at the women. Stopped pretending to be in charge. But I could feel it, that coiled tension behind his eyes, like a storm waiting to break. Management still did nothing. They didn't ask questions. Didn't call a meeting. Didn't even check security cameras. It was the same old story. HR will handle it, whispered into the void. So I let it go. For a while. Until one afternoon, I saw the headline. I was scrolling through my phone during lunch, half asleep, half bored, when a video autoplayed on my feed. A shaky camera phone recording of two men brawling in the middle of a highway. Traffic screaming by. Horns blaring. People shouting from their cars. I almost scrolled past, until I saw the face. That red, furious face. That same wild expression from the parking lot. Evan. There he was, in broad daylight, fists flying at a stranger, right in the middle of moving traffic. Cars swerved, tires screeched, someone yelled, "He's gonna get himself killed!" The caption under the video said, "Local man causes highway chaos in road rage fight." My heart stopped, then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. The man who spent years bullying everyone around him finally found someone he couldn't control, and he snapped. The video spread fast. People in the comments recognized him immediately. Some even mentioned our workplace. "He works at company name. Yeah, that's the guy who harasses women there." I almost felt bad for him. Almost. But karma doesn't miss. It just takes its time. When I went to work the next day, everyone had seen it. Whispers followed him through the hallways. He pretended not to care, walked around puffed up like always, but his face was pale, eyes bloodshot. Even management couldn't ignore it this time. He was called into the office 3 times that week. Still, somehow, they didn't fire him. Until one evening. It was a Thursday. I was closing up with our general manager, a woman who'd always tried to keep peace, even when people like Evan made her job hell. Evan was arguing with her over something stupid, a scheduling issue, I think. His voice was rising again, that same pattern everyone knew by heart. Then, out of nowhere, he said something he shouldn't have. Something ugly. Something sexist. The room went still. You could feel the air shift. She looked at him, eyes sharp as glass, and said quietly, "Get the F*** out of my business." Just like that. No HR meeting. No formal write-up. No excuses. She was done. He stood there for a second, face frozen between shock and fury, before he realized she meant it. Then he grabbed his stuff and walked out. The door slammed behind him, and the whole building exhaled. For the first time in years, it was quiet, peaceful. That night, a few of us went out for drinks. Someone ordered shots, raised a glass, and said, "To karma." We all laughed. And for the first time, that laughter wasn't nervous or forced. It was freedom. Because monsters don't always go out in a blaze. Sometimes, they just fade, stripped of power, exposed under the same fluorescent lights they used to hide behind. Evan wasn't a coworker anymore. He was just a memory. A cautionary tale about what happens when arrogance meets accountability. The next morning, the parking lot felt different. Same cracked asphalt. Same single buzzing light. But for the first time in months, it didn't feel dangerous. It felt empty. The kind of empty that means peace. I stood there for a minute before clock-in, sipping cheap gas station coffee, listening to the faint hum of early traffic. The air was cold, still honest. No shouting. No footsteps behind me. No voice barking orders across the lot. And I realized, that's what revenge really sounds like. Silence. Evan never came back. No goodbye, no apology, no second chance. He just vanished from the place he tried to rule by fear. In the weeks that followed, the whole mood at work changed. The women smiled again. People laughed in the break room without looking over their shoulders. It was like someone had opened a window in a room that had been suffocating for too long. And me? I finally stopped replaying that night in my head. The banging on the window. The shouting. The way my pulse had shaken my hands on the wheel. At first, I thought I'd feel guilty for leaving him in that parking lot. But guilt never came. Because that night taught me something I wish I'd known sooner. Sometimes walking away is the act of revenge. He wanted power. The kind that comes from making people afraid. But when I locked that door, when I hit the gas and refused to look back, I took every ounce of that power away. He wasn't the predator anymore. He was just a grown man screaming in the dark, begging for a ride he didn't deserve. And in a way, that's karma's favorite trick. It doesn't always roar in public. Sometimes it arrives quietly, months later, in the form of a viral video, a pink slip, or a door that finally closes behind you. I still remember the night the manager fired him. That small, calm sentence. "Get the F*** out of my business." Asterisk, that's what courage sounds like when it's tired of being polite. People like Evan think they're invincible because no one stands up to them. But the truth is, they build their power out of fear, and fear is fragile. All it takes is one person to stop feeding it. That night in the parking lot, I stopped. And everything after that, his humiliation, his firing, his fall, was just the echo. Sometimes revenge isn't about payback. It's about peace. About sleeping at night knowing you didn't stoop to their level. About watching karma do the cleanup for you. And when you finally see that person crumble under the weight of their own ego, you realize you never needed to fight. You just needed to leave them behind. I used to think strength meant confronting people like him head-on, yelling back, matching energy for energy. But now I know, real strength is quiet. It's the calm in your voice when you say, "No." It's the steady hand that turns the key, locks the door, and drives away. Because silence, when it's chosen, is louder than any argument. And sometimes, the sweetest revenge is simply not giving them another second of your life. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button. It tells me you believe karma always finds a way. Comment below. Silence was his punishment. And subscribe for more true Reddit revenge stories, where justice doesn't scream. It simply walks away.